We have 2 more speakers, and I'm a little bit aware of time, so I'm going to have to work with our speakers but to give you your full time. But I'm very pleased to introduce Nobuko Inaba as our next speaker. She's the chair and a professor of World Heritage Studies at the Graduate School at Tsukuba, Japan. She previously worked for the Japanese government's Agency for Cultural Affairs, advancing cultural landscape programs, which were coming in at that time. She's been involved in both national and international affairs, also under the World Heritage Convention. Nobuko.
Good morning, everyone. Of course, first of all, I have to thank you very much about Rutgers University inviting me to be able to speak here. My talk is about the situation in Japan, cultural landscapes. Actually, the given title of the panel was Reflections on the Past and Future. So I would like to respond to the theme. So starting from the past. I'll start from the past, and I'll go to what is the current discussion in Japan. Okay? So how has the current landscape concept as heritage been introduced and developed in Japan? Okay? So the Mechtrit in her video talked about 3 categories of the cultural landscapes introduced to the World Heritage Convention activities. It was 1992, quite recent. So of course, the protection of cultural landscapes in Japan started earlier. However, it's easier for us to communicate through those 3 categories. How in Japan, those categories, or Monica said that should be typologies, developed in Japan. Actually, 3 categories. What is in the World Heritage Committee defined is designed landscapes, or organically evolved landscapes. That is Mechtrit said living landscape, yes, and associative cultural landscapes. So those 3, how in Japan was being developed. Those are the names of the definitions in our law, which means category or typologies. And 4-digit numbers are the year introduced. So look at that as the first designed landscapes, and the last associative cultural landscapes are all introduced 1919, quite early in the history. So we have quite long history to identifying and protecting those issues. But new one is a second one, living landscapes. It was 1975 and 2004. I would like a little bit the history of this one, then going to the current discussion. Places of scenic beauty, actually the name in the category of our system. It was introduced in 1919. And this is the definitions, just as listing up the things, but it's a high artistic, no, I have to look that. High value from the point of view of art or visual appreciation in and for this country. So actually, places of scenic beauty covers both designed landscapes and associated landscapes. I'd like to start from the 3 slides to showing those categories. First is designed landscapes, of course, gardens. Gardens from dried landscape and also in a natural type of garden. Anyway, designed by humans. Those are designed landscapes, started from the 1919. And the second is, this is actually natural landscapes with beauty, actually. That is because this category introduced to Japan together with natural monuments. So natural monuments, natural places of scenic beauty are together started 1919, corresponding to the destruction of the nature of the Industrial Revolution, whatever as others. So as Leticia talked about combined nature of something, man and nature. Those are going back to this stage of the history. And the last one, associative landscapes. So the scenic beauty with depicted in paintings and poets and others. So these are side by side ukiyo-e paintings, and also the landscapes was depicted in ukiyo paintings. Those are identified and designated and protected since then. So second, that is the first category, and the third category. We have the quite historical background. The second one, as for organic evolved landscape or living landscapes, that's quite new, or even could be that is covered by the 1975 preservation districts for groups of historic buildings. This is the definition, says actually the groups of historic buildings, but the value is together with its landscapes, environs. So some of them as just the city centers, but some of them can be the villages with natural landscapes. This is one of actually the one of the World Heritage Site. It was not nominated as cultural landscapes, but many people says this is, of course, is cultural landscapes. It's with villages, with mountain landscapes. Of course, people's life is together with mountains and the forestry works. These are brochures promoting of this system is talking about, we are talking about people is important. So most of the controlling system are given to the municipalities, also the groups of residents. Without their support and without their the participation, it's difficult to do so. The latest introduction is agricultural, forestry, and fishery landscapes. I can say this is definitely influence from the World Heritage Convention's cultural landscapes activities. Until this time, we didn't have in particular area to be able to cover this area. So that is introduced 2004. Here, I used original Japanese language, bunkateki keikan. The reason, the translation literally, I did it, it's become cultural landscapes. However, cultural landscapes, we had already places of scenic beauty to talk about associative landscapes and also design landscapes. We have to identify. Even Japanese are confused because we use bunkateki keikan means literally the cultural landscapes. People are confusing. What is this is cultural landscapes? What is the scenic beauty? What is the associative landscapes? What are they? But actually, this was introduced to introduce agricultural landscapes mainly. However, I would like to talk, I have to talk this one. It was developed to include many types of landscapes. So this is a definition. It's interesting. Landscape areas that have developed in association with the modes of life or livelihood of the people and the natural features of the region, which are indispensable for the understanding of the people's modes of life and livelihoods. This is a definition of our bunkateki keikan or cultural landscapes. We did first nationwide mapping survey on potential agricultural, forestry, and fishery landscapes from 3 years we did. So we identified many agricultural landscapes all over Japan, and the designation and the protection started. And the brochure was published, Our Treasure Cultural Landscapes of Future Generation. Definitely you will see the agricultural landscapes was target at that time. And also here is the people have fostered cultural landscapes. That was in this is the brochure of the landscape. So this is explanation how the system can support the local communities to identify the landscape and how to protect and how to the authority can support the system. However, the definition of criteria of the cultural landscapes not only covers agriculture and fishery or water surfaces, but also covers mining, transportation, residences, and settlements. That is quite wide area to be covered. So, second nationwide mapping survey on potential mining, manufacturing, distribution, traffic, and dwellings landscapes has been done. Then now, that is a system starting from agriculture and going to the much wider areas, including city centers. So now, this category covers could be the cultural landscape. Yes, in one sense, is cultural landscapes. In the city center, traditional fish markets, as well as other markets and others are be covered. It's not bad things, but within anyway. So that direction also is, we have to think about is a connection to the current discussion, not in the category or typology discussion of the heritage protection in Japan. So new movement is more integrated approach to cultural heritage, linking tangible and intangible manifestations of our culture to the surrounding nature. That is our political concern of the Japanese central governments. And why are we doing that? The role of cultural heritage in local sustainable development, because depopulation, decreasing number of populations in the local areas, that is a severe problem of us. So that is partially cultural landscape, the connection to that is somehow was changing the, not the nature. It's quite strong connections between that. So new laws and national programs for territorial landscape conservation and local community revitalization jointly implemented both the cultural heritage and spatial land use control authorities. So 2007, this is actually only the cultural agency, promotion of the municipal level basic schemes for historic and cultural properties has been started. And this is a scheme explanation in the brochure again. Next, this is actually 3 ministries jointly, 2008, Historical Town Revitalization Law started. So this is another brochures, and to do that, how the scheme is that's actually the municipalities encourage them to plan the scheme, how integrate their cultural heritage for future development. And this is the scheme drawings, and actually this is very similar to the brochure of the cultural landscape issues. So we have been producing different pictures, drawings like this one. What you have in your town, how can you introduce to, how to you utilize, or if it's the word utilize is not good anyway. This is how to use these resources to that. So now the discussion is similarity between 文化的景観 or cultural landscape as a heritage typology category and the new schemes for integration and revitalization as programs. So if the typology as cultural heritage only limited to the nature-related agriculture one, probably I shouldn't say it's not easier. That's also important. However, for me, it's involved in the heritage policy development, the way approach is different. So anyway, they is saying, I'm sorry to the lecturer to her speech in the morning. She said it's a cultural landscape is typology and historic urban landscape approach. But my question is cultural landscapes, category typology or approaches to our heritage resources. Thank you very much. That is my presentation.
Thank you very much. That was really excellent, and thank you for being very quick.